Claire, where is the Congress? I mean, they have the authority on tariffs. This shouldn't be a partisan issue other than their servitude to Donald Trump. But these are jobs. These are the kinds of voters that even Donald Trump used to care about, certainly the kinds of voters that Democrats and Republicans fight mightily for during election years. Where are the politicians?
Well, the Republican politicians are nervously studying the polls. They are watching. Most of them think this is a terrible idea. Most of them, frankly, in their bones, are more free traders than trade wars. They've watched as Xi has basically given Trump the back of his hand. Xi hasn't called and bent a knee. Xi knows he doesn't need to worry about his political popularity, and he knows the impact is going to be severe, especially it's going to happen quickly and it's going to be all across the country. So these Republican members of Congress, right now, the Trump base is saying, well, he's doing the right thing, but they haven't felt it yet. Watch what happens when those poll numbers stop to drop among the Trump base. Then you'll see some of them regain their sanity or maybe courage. But on the other hand, there's going to be a really calcified group of Trump supporters that won't go anywhere, no matter how bad it is. And they're still going to be afraid of them in terms of primaries. I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen so much political malpractice going on around the nation's economy as you're watching right now in the Republican Party.
I mean, Claire, politics aside, it is a national security issue to have one individual destroy the global economy and no one says a word. It's sort of, it harkens the tree falling in the woods and no one says or does anything. Are there not still, are there not enough senators in both parties that believe that they should assert their constitutionally mandated check on executive power?
Well, there's certainly enough in the Democratic Party. And as my friends in the Senate that are Democrats say to the Republicans every day, remember this. Remember this when there's a Democratic president. Remember this when there's a D in the White House, because Trump is saying to the future presidents, you do not have to use Congress for anything, not for funding decisions, not for doing away with whole government agencies, and certainly not for declaring worldwide trade wars. And, you know, this chicken will come home to roost. Now, it's interesting. We'll see how this turns out, because it may be so bad for the Republicans, the Democrats decide never to even try to go there.
Let me show you, Mara, more of what Donald Trump says about his responsibility, which, again, it's not a partisan observation. Donald Trump went and announced a trade war in the Rose Garden with his own charts. He did this, and I think if it were going well and people liked it, that wouldn't be in dispute. But here he is answering questions about whose economy it is.
When does it become the Trump economy?
It partially is right now, and I really mean this. I think the good parts are the Trump economy, and the bad parts are the Biden economy, because he's done a terrible job. He did a terrible job on everything, from his auto pen, which I'm sure he knew nothing about some of the things he was supposedly signing, to immigration. You look at what happened with immigration, how bad it was.
But, sir, you acknowledge when you announced your tariffs, for example, the stock market dropped. It's been volatile. It has since gone up.
It is,
Do you take responsibility
for
that? Yeah. Do you take responsibility when it drops?
Ultimately, I take responsibility for everything, but I've only just been here for a little more than 3 months.
I think by the time you're 4 or 5, you learn that you don't get to answer questions like that. I'm responsible for the parts of my room that are clean, but the messy parts somebody else did. I mean, it's a ludicrous answer.
This is his economy, obviously. It also only took him several months to destroy what had been an extremely strong economy. Americans understand that. Polls will reflect that. But, you know, I'm not only concerned about the cost of consumer items. I'm thinking about the fact that we've had 40-plus years of free trade in place. Mm-hmm. And so what he has done is shock the economy of the country and the world, and we are not prepared for it, which is to say it's not just the price of consumer goods, it's also the jobs that are going to be lost. You don't just get those back immediately once a deal is in place, right? We're talking about small businesses, too, that are going to be hit extremely hard. The impact on the American economy, even right now, because it's going to slow hiring. And so I'm actually really already disturbed. I mean, yes, we're not technically in a recession, but when you actually talk to Americans, especially on the East Coast, I can't speak to elsewhere in the country, people are accepting jobs for less money than they had before. It's taking people longer to find them. There's a chill already, and some of it is the uncertainty, and some of it is the recklessness. And so you don't just overnight turn around an economy that was based, a global economy that was based on free markets, and expect there to be no pain. When these manufacturing jobs, even if they did come back long term, they're not coming back today when people are losing jobs because they were dock workers or they were truck drivers or they were in retail. So what about right now? Americans are being told by Donald Trump, have fewer baby dolls, or you don't need strollers, or I don't know what that is.
I read it 3 times now, and I wrote it down. She asked about a stroller, and he says, what kind of thing? What kind of a thing, Claire? I mean, you have kids and grandkids. The stroller is, I don't know, maybe you know who's never seen one. I don't know. What kind of a thing? It's a thing that moves around small people. The same kind of people that I don't know any kids that have 35 dolls, but I mean, the indifference and the window into his almost sociopathical lack of empathy for what it's like to raise a family in this country right now is unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think what he, frankly, is so out of touch with how most Americans are living. And the reason that we buy a lot of things from China is because they're cheaper. And so what he's really doing is he's saying to families who are living paycheck to paycheck, well, you're just not going to be able to afford a stroller. And anyone who has had a child knows how essential a stroller is. I mean, yes, you can carry a growing baby and a toddler, but in terms of the quality of life, an inexpensive stroller is a big deal to most families in America. And there will no longer be inexpensive strollers. The only strollers that you will be able to buy will be very, very expensive for very poor quality, if in fact they come at all.